Hello. Good evening.
Hello, Harold. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
I'm ready for another interesting round
Hello,
of animal slaughter. I think we have chickens tonight.
did you check it?
Nope. I remember seeing it when I was a kid. How about you? You ever see a chicken get shechted?
Yeah,
Yeah.
in Uruguay.
Yeah.
I went with my father-in-law, and he went to choose one,
Yeah.
take them and check the tuchels and this and that, then gives it to the guy.
Yeah.
The guy sits it on his lap,
Yeah.
says something, and yuck, that's it.
Done. Yeah. And then you
Yeah,
go home with a dead chicken. I know.
Well, you let the chicken to run around without the head.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, chicken, yeah, like a chicken without a head, right?
but did you ever have to kill a chicken?
Beautiful weather.
Where are you,
Are
La
you there for
Jolla?
Shabbos?
We're in La Costa.
La Costa. Ah,
Coming
There's
back, Ernie, when you coming back?
tomorrow.
Oh, you went to La Costa just for the night or what?
Yeah, today and tomorrow is the convention. I mean, the convention goes on. Sometimes we stay here Shabbos too, but because our kids are back,
Ah.
No.
we're coming back tomorrow.
How's La Costa these days? Nice. Did you play golf?
This Omni, you've got they've really it's beautiful. Beautiful.
Red.
Nunva. And there's a Chabad. I've been here Shabbos. There's a Chabad just literally
Yeah, I
down
know. I've been there
on
before.
the block there.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the reason, Moshe Ben Arush.
Yeah, Moshe Benoros, yeah.
He's a dentist. So he comes here too. He does workers' comp. So he has yard side or saying cottage. So there's a mincha minion. That's why I had to do the minion earlier. And
That's
that's why I
good
had to do
because we got to watch the game. Mario, we got to watch the game later, Mario.
tomorrow.
No,
no, I think
Tonight,
it's
tonight.
tonight.
Turkey,
America.
US.
US
Turkey.
versus Turkey.
Tonight.
Uruguay and Spain. So
Okay.
I'm not going to be at the Daf Yomi.
What the
What time is the game?
You mean tomorrow? You mean tomorrow? We could do it at 4:30 if you want. Let's do it at 4:30.
Okay.
Okay,
That way
Okay.
you don't have to miss anything. That's fine.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
very good.
Nun vav. Elu treifas ba'oif. But we've been learning about treifas for animals. Now, virtually the same things that are treif by animals will be treif by chickens, but there's some exceptions, additions. Nikuvas aveshet, if the esophagus as a whole. Now remember, by a behema, you have to divide both of the simonim, the esophagus and the trachea. By a bird, it's either one. You only have to cut one siman. Nevertheless, any kind of hole in the esophagus renders the bird treifa. Upsukas agargeres, if greater than 51% of the trachea is divided, it's also a treifa. Hikasa chuldal rosha, if a weasel had struck, which the Gemara is going to learn bit, the bird on its head. Now, if it's malkam is sosa treifa, if it's opposite the brain, then it's a treifa. If it's not opposite the brain, we'll see it's not. Nikava kurkavin, the kurkavin is the gizzard. And if you remember, the esophagus goes into the crop.
That's a pupik, huh?
The kurkavin is the pupik. Now, the crop is undigested food, and then it goes through the regular. The zephek is the crop. Then it goes eventually into the kurkavin where it grinds it. So all it needs is a hole. Nikvu adakin, if the intestines have a hole, treifa. If it fell into a fire and the intestines got singed, so it depends. Im yerukim psulim, if they turn green, That's a siman of trephus. Imadumim, if they remain red, ksheri. Torso utorfa b'koisel, if someone stepped on the bird or threw it against a wall. This is similar to the case of an animal falling from a roof. Oshi ritzatzta behema stepped on it. Now, as long as it's flapping its wings, vishasa me'es doesn't have to stand, just flaps or flutters its wings. Vishasa me'es and it stays alive 24 hours. Uchachta kshera. Now, it needs a full examination of all of the organs, like a nafula. But if it follows that order, it's kosher. Rav Shmuel v'Levi da Amri machnis yodu lifnimu boydek. Here's an interesting test: that if the weasel had bit the bird in the skull, opposite where the brain is, so just a skull defect alone does not make it treif. There has to be a defect in the membrane surrounding the brain. So machnis yodu lifnim ubodek. You put your finger in the bird's mouth, and the upper palate. You push up on the upper palate. If there is brain tissue that emerges from the hole in the skull there, then it's a treifa. Vimlav kshera. If no brain tissue comes out, it's a siman that the membrane is intact, and the bird would be kosher.
Just a practical thing. It cannot be very easy to insert a finger in the mouth of a chicken when it's alive.
The animal's not alive.
Oh, this is after you shechted it.
Correct.
Okay.
We're talking about you shechted it already.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry.
If you remember, there are two membranes, the outer membrane, the inner membrane. So according to the Manda Omar, who says that it's not treif unless the immediate membrane that's attached to the brain has a hole in it, and just having the upper dura with a hole, but not the lower one. So then we understand that if no brain comes out, the lower one is intact. And if the lower one is, this is the mandoma that holds that you need a defect in the lower one, and there's no evidence of the lower one. But there is a mandoma that says, even if the outer membrane has a hole and the inner membrane doesn't, well, that would be the reason why the brain doesn't come out when you push up on the palate. Let us be concerned that the reason the brain is not coming out when you push on the palate is there's only a hole in the upper membrane, not in the lower membrane. But this mandama holds that a hole in the outer membrane makes it treif anyways. Answers the Gemara, the inkivi law. If the upper membrane had a hole, there's no way that the lower membrane would remain intact. Amar Zairi has a whole different opinion. Ein bedika l'chulta. This kind of bite by a weasel on the bird's head, it's always going to be treif. Because its teeth are thin. There might be a hole, but brain matter might not come out. Who cares? If there's a hole, there's a hole. Brain will come out. It's not just that they're thin, but they're curved. So the hole in one area may not be the same place where the hole is in the other area. It's curved. So by pushing here, the brain tissue may not come out. So according to Zairi, there's no way to do bedika, therefore it's always treif. However, Kisolok Nardo, Zairi went to Nardo, Shalach Lahu, and sent back word to the people in Bavel, I made a mistake. Baram Kachorma Shmed Reish Lakish, Boykin Lachul de Biyad. Reish Lakish said you could do a bedika. Avaloba Masama, you couldn't use a nail and scrape along the membrane and see if it gets caught in a hole. That there's two ways of checking. You could put your finger in the mouth, or you could do the check with the nail. We're also concerned with the nail that it itself could cause the hole. This machlokes between Reish Lakish and Rav Yochanan was an earlier Tanaitic machlokes. But looked at Rabbi Yehuda Rav Nechemia. Chad badik biyadav, chad badik b'machta. One would use this finger check in the palate, and the other would use a needle or a nail. Man de badik biyadav amar le'leman. Amar le'leman de badik b'machta. The one who said use the finger approach would tell the one using the nail, Ad Yisrael. By using the nail, you might make a hole and then make it treif, and you're causing Jews to lose money. The one who uses a nail and not the finger, you're not identifying all of the cases of a hole, and therefore you're causing Klal Yisrael to eat nevela. More nevela vashchuta. It's not nevela, it's treifa because it's shechted. And a chadami ala treifas. Shamanikov krum shalmaya. Okay. Tistain Rabbi Yehuda de Bodik biyada. The Gemara is going to prove that between Rabbi Yehuda and Rav Nechemia, it's Rabbi Yehuda who holds that you check with your finger. The Tanya. Rav Shur Lazar Mishum Rabbi Yehuda. Boyd kim lechul de biyad avalo b'masmer. So there it is directly. You check with a finger, not with the nail. If there's a hole in the skull, it's treif even if you can't identify a hole in the membrane. However, to stay. So that at least proves that it's Rabbi Yehuda who holds that you have to check with your finger. But this baraisa seems to be contradictory. First you say there's a check. Then you say if there's a hole, it's treif. Hagufa kasha. You said that there's an effective way of doing a bedika. So there's a way of checking. Then immediately you say, as long as there's a hole in the skull, that's enough. So they can't check it. And for the Gemara Sefer a waterfowl, right? A bird that, so for example, we're going to see soon geese are considered waterfowl because they spend a lot of time in the water. Their skulls are more delicate, and therefore, hoil vein lo krum, it doesn't even have a membrane. Therefore, once you make a hole in the skull, it's straight. They all have membranes. We mean the membrane is very thin. And therefore, once you have a hole in the skull, it automatically causes a hole in the membrane. You said that Shmuel held that you could do the bedika by the finger technique. Rav badik biyadu machshir. Huna and his chaverim said Rav did the same check. Ve'atani Levi treifus shemana chacham b'behema connecting b'oif, that the same treifus that the chachamim said by an animal exists by a bird. Yes, ralei and oif beyond it for a bird. Nishbar etzem av pishul nikiv krum shalmoach. The by an animal we learned it's not treif unless it has a hole in the membrane, but the bird has less life, and therefore just a hole in the skull is enough. Why does Shmuel and Rav say not like that? Levi is referring to a waterfowl, which we said is more stringent. What do you mean, no membrane at all? No. It's got a fragile membrane. There was a chicken that was shechted by Rav Chana. Shad the Rav Mas was sent to Rav Mas to check. Nishbar etzem lo nikav krum shalnoach chavi. It had a hole in the skull, but the membrane was intact. V'achsharei. And he said it's kosher, the way we've been learning. Amar lei, vatani levi treif shemana chol b'beim is connected b'oif. Yes, or oif nishbar etzem al pishul lo nikav krum shalnoach. That if you have a hole in the skull, that's enough. Amar la hasan b'oif shel mayim hol vein lo krum. They explained that that was said only regarding a waterfowl. No, its membrane is very thin. Johnny, we are on Nun Vav, We're about to flip the page to Nun Vav Amud Beis.
Thank you.
Tomorrow we're going to learn at 4:30.
4:30. Okay. Thank you.
Johnny, you should be thanking me because Uruguay is playing at 5.
Oh, tomorrow?
We wanted to give the Uruguayans.
Uruguay, I'm sorry, it's a lost cause.
It is?
I think so. Mario? Can
We
hear
don't
you,
hear
Mario.
you, Mario. Mario, we don't hear you.
You're mute. You're muted, Mario.
3 teams can go through. The third one is difficult because they have to have less goals against them. So Uruguay is in a fairly decent position. But they have to at least draw or win against Spain. If
I
they
did that.
lose against Spain, then they're really in bad shape.
The acted Sures. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the part. So we're on the last line of Nun Vav Amud Aleph.
Okay.
Rav Shizbi Bodik B'Shimsha. He would peel the membrane and look it at the sun and see if a hole was there. Rav Yemer Bodik B'Mai. He would fill it with water, see if there's a hole. Rav Acha Bar Yaakov Bodik Begila Dechitata. He would scrape a straw of wheat to see if it got trapped by a hole. Rav Shizbi Hani Avzi Didan Be'ov Shalmaim Damyan. Our geese are like birds of water. And that's how the Beis Yosef, the Rambam, the Rosh, the Tur, that geese are considered waterfowl. So by the skull, it would be more machmir. Any hole would make them treif. Okay. The Mishnah said nafla or if the bird fell into a fire. So we check the intestines if they're green. Whatever the size of a hole is, that's how much green it has to be, which is just a mashu. Boy mine Rav Yosef Rav Yeshua ben Levi Rav Yeshua ben Levi. Hoyrika kovid keneged me'ayim mao. If the liver was green right where it touched the intestine, Amarle treifa. Why should it be any worse than if you removed a piece of the liver? We know that that's okay. Amarava kivan sharika yavi keneged me'ayim. Since the liver got green next to the intestines, it's a simon that the intestines were burned. Utreifa. Okay. Rav Yeshua ben Levi Avalei turn a golta. Rav Yeshua had a chicken that was burnt in a fire. Shari lekamed Rav Elazar Kafar Beribi. Amalei Yerukin Havu va'achshara. Here he said they were green and it's kosher. Freitimor vanan tnan Yerukim psulin. Our Mishnah said that if you check them and they're green, it's possible. So lo'amru Yerukim psulin abekurkavan belevu v'kaved. That when it's green and it's bad, it's only the gizzard, the heart, and the liver, because they're normally red. Intestines are normally a little bit greenish. So therefore, this case was kosher. Tainamachi, there's a brisa to say the same thing. Be'elu b'nei ma'im amru. When do they say when it's green it's treif? Korkavin, the pupik, belev uvakave. Rav Yisrael bar Yosef Avalei Ayitar Negolta that was burned. Shala kamed Ravavo. Armelei adumim ayu v'tarfa. So here he said the opposite, that the intestines are red and it's treif. You told me before that if the rest of the intestines are red, it's kosher. Armelei adumim shehu riku. If they're red and they become green, v'yerukin shedimu treifa. If the organs are normally red and they turn green, or if a normally green organ turns red, then it's treif. So if in the intestine that's normally green, which turns red, so that would be a problem. When they say that it turns red and it's kosher, it's only the heart, the gizzard, and the liver. Adumim shuriku, a normally red organ that turns green. Ushlakan, and you boiled it. V'chazru ve'dimu, and they became red. Ksherin, my time, a kutra ayalbuhu. The smoke is what caused the greenish. And now that you boiled it, you got rid of that. Afanan noimar, Adumim shloi riku, even red organs that are not green, maybe ushlokon, and you boiled them, riku treifa. My time igloi basayu. You return them to where they were. So no. So the enechanami. If boiling removes the smoke and it shows that it's green, the bird is treif. Amravashi hilkach lo lechalinish el b'shikla. We should never eat chicken only by boiling to make sure that there isn't a problem. However, velohi, because a bird that fell into a fire, a regular animal, there's no reason to say that it has a bad chazaka. A bird that fell into the fire, it has decreased its chazaka. So then you have to be more stringent. Dorso torfa bakoiso. If it was thrown against the wall or stepped on, we say you have to wait 24 hours. If it flutters its wings and it stays alive 24 hours, you can shecht it. Of course, it needs a bedika. Like we said, it needs a bedika. The following defects allow a bird to remain kosher. Nikvar gargaris, a hole in the trachea. Oshnizigo got like a crack. If the weasel bit it on the skull, but not near the brain. Nikavazekev, zefek. If the crop had a hole in it, Rabbi Yomer Filu Nittel, even the crop is removed. Yotsu b'nei me'ah, it had a hernia. The lo nikvu, there was no hole, or nishtabru gapeha, it had a broken wing. Nishtabru raglet had a broken leg. Nimber tu knafea, they plucked it down all the way to the skin. Rabbi Yehuda said, and the Gemara says it's kosher. Rabbi Yehuda im nitla hanutza psula. If the down, which is the hair right next to the skin of a bird, if that's been removed, it's like skinning the bird. And just like we said, if an animal is skinned, it's treif. Same thing here. Torabon. They went to make a leap year. They stayed in Oinoi. They paskined like Rebbe by a uterus the way he paskined by the zefek, the crop. Well, iboilu, what does that mean? That regarding removing the uterus, they said it's treif. And regarding the removal of the crop, they said it's mutter. Maybe it means they ruled leheter by uterus the way Rebbe ruled by zefek, which was in both cases mutter. Aval karebi bezefek lo svirle. But maybe they didn't hold regarding the psak on zefek. So take. We have no answer. Amarabba. Vitemer Shuben Levi. Gago shel defek, the upper part of the crop next to the esophagus is nidin kavesha. Heicha. As it gets narrower to get to the esophagus, that's considered the crop. Yatsu b'nei me'eh, the intestines came out but no hole. As long as you didn't put the intestines back in a reverse. If you reversed it, then the animal is treif. He made you straight. There's an order to our organs. And if you reverse the organ, you can't live. Tanya Reb Meir Omer Waskav Acharonecha Kracha de Kulabei. Klal Yisrael is like a city. We are self-sufficient. Mimenu Kohanav, Mimenu Neviyav, Mimenu Sar, Mimenu Malachav. From Yisrael comes Kohanim, comes its Neviim, comes its officers, comes its kings. Shenemar, Mimenu Pina, Mimenu Yosed. A certain Aramean saw a person fall from a roof. So his belly split open and his intestines came out. I've seen cases like that. This Aramean brought the son of the person who fell off the roof and looked like he shechted him, which means like a magic act, which made the guy afraid. So he took a deep breath. All the minor, so he got all of the intestines back into his body. He was able to sew up the hernia. Okay. Very good, everybody.
Okay. See you tomorrow. Thank you.